why in the important games against Dallas do we just fail to show up at all? This game was arguably closer than the score showed, but regardless, Hawks lose 5-1 to the Dallas Stars on a reverse retro night, and that is not a way to have your final game in those jerseys, man. That is an awful way to go out. See, the game just got away from Chicago. I mean, they played very solid throughout this game. Outside of that second period was just, outside of the second period, the Hawks actually played pretty decently. If you take away that second period, that game was only 2-1. I don't know. That's maybe something. I'm trying to find something. I'm actually trying to maybe it'll be a little bit positive today. I'm feeling a bit optimistic. I'm feeling a bit positive. But I mean, how can you feel positive from that kind of a performance? Because in the first period, it was a goalie showcase. And Kevin Lankinen was a stud in the first period. He was fantastic. The first 10 minutes was just chock full of saves from both Lankinen and Anton Khudobin. Both goalies played an amazing first period, but each of them let up one goal. Lankinen was the first to give, as this one I don't blame on him really that much, because he made a fantastic save on Joe Pavelski on a pass across the crease. Jace basically had to throw his stick to get his blocker there, and it goes off his blocker, off his mask, rolls right onto the stick of Rupe Hintz. He roofs it because there's no Blackhawk defender to clear away that puck, and Hintz is just right there, and he buries it 1-0 Stars. I mean, outside of that goal, Lankinen was fantastic in the first period. I don't know what else to say. That one's not his fault. That was a good play by Dallas, a great save by Lankinen, and Hintz was in the right place at the right time. Now, a couple minutes later, there's a four-man brawl in the corner for the puck here. And out with the puck comes Vinny Hinostroza, who goes behind the goal line and fires a cross-ice pass to Dominik Kubalik, who's able to put it past Khudobin. And that's the only bright spot of this game right there. Hinostroza connects to Kubalik for the second straight game. And it's 1-1. We're tied. That would be what the score would be at the end of the first period, as the goalies would shut the door for the rest of the first period. And in the second period, it's already off to a bad start. It's a 4-on-4 in the first minute, basically. And just as that first minute passes, the Hawks are behind the net. Zadorov emerges with it, gets a weak pass to Duncan Keith. It's picked off by Hintz. He gets it back to Lindell, who sets Hintz up again, who finds Jason Robertson, who then makes a nice move around Lankinen and has a wide open net to just bury the puck and give the Stars a 2-1 lead. A bad turnover by the defense again leads to an opposing goal. How many times have we seen this in the past handful of games? Because my goodness, in some of these Hawks losses, they have just had some terrible defensive meltdowns. And then there's this play. The Hawks actually, outside of that play in the first minute, were actually pretty solid here for the first 10 or so minutes here in the second period. But then as the Stars are on a power play with 6 minutes to go, Hintz is behind the net after some nice passing from the Stars. Hintz is behind the net, gets it back to Ben, and then he sets up Miro Heiskanen for a one-timer that beats Lankinen top right corner. No deflection, no nothing. Miro Heiskanen gets the Stars back on the board with the power play goal. And that is just a hard one to swallow. And then there's this play. Just a couple minutes after the second goal of the period, another terrible defensive mistake by guess who? No, it wasn't Calvin Hahn. No, for real, it wasn't Calvin Hahn this time. It was Duncan Keith. So Duncan Keith gets a pass from Vinny Hinostroza in the zone, and as he's coming across the middle away from the wall, he trips. The puck goes down, wide open, and a lead pass from the Stars right to Como. He's got a wide open breakaway, and of course he scores past Lankinen, And all of a sudden, in the past 2 minutes, the Hawks have collapsed. And it is a 3-goal lead for the Stars going into the third period. Duncan Keith, he's getting up there in age. He's not going to be as good as he was back when he won the Conn Smythe in 2015 even. But man, that one is you just can't do that. You just can't you can't lose your balance like that, especially when you're down 2 in the late second period. Boqvist did his best to get back there. He was outrun. Como had him beat from the moment that lead pass was taken. It's just that one is just instead of more of just a terrible turnover, it's just an unfortunate series of events for one of your veteran players making a bad mistake. And that is just really hard to take. Those last couple of minutes really blew the game open for Dallas. Now, I can forgive Keith for tripping there. You lose your balance every once in a while. It's, rough play. You're getting up there in age. You're not going to be as, nimble on your feet as you used to be. But this play in the third period, in the first minute of the third period, is just baffling that someone of his longevity in the league would make. He tries to pass to Boqvist as he's just about ready to go onto the bench for a line change. So naturally it goes off the wall and it's picked up by the Stars, and all of a sudden it's a 2-on-1. Pass right to Como, and he's got a tap-in goal. It's 5-1 Stars in the first minute of the third period, and the Hawks have officially collapsed here in the past 10 or so minutes of game time. Not even, more like probably around 5 minutes of game time. My gosh, they have just fallen off about 3 goals in give or take 7-8 minutes. And the Stars are up 4 goals. 2 of these goals I put on Duncan Keith's name here. My gosh. That is how you lose a hockey game right there. There's nothing else I can say about that. That's how you lose a hockey game. And then the rest of the third period was a bore. Literally. The Hawks couldn't do anything. Lankinen started to show up, made some saves on the Stars. When the Hawks offense did not show up, they couldn't do anything for the rest of this game. And in their last reverse retro game, they lose 5-1. And see, I've been saying the Stars have been creeping up on us, when in reality, they've actually been below the Jackets, and they've actually been pretty rough this year, but they have a ton of games in hand, and it's the Dallas Stars. They went to the Stanley Cup final last year. Come on, man. And now, all of a sudden, they win this game 5-1. Are we going to have to start worrying about Dallas now? Because I don't want to have to worry about literally every single team. Or Nashville, Columbus, and Dallas chasing us for our spot here in the playoffs. And then there's Detroit at the bottom that we don't have to worry about. But I don't want to constantly have to worry about 3 other teams trying to take our spot. Because we all know the 3 teams above us, the Lightning, Panthers, and Hurricanes, have all pretty much locked up their spots. They're not, barring a collapse from one of those three teams. Those 3 teams have locked in those top 3 spots in the division. And it's a bloodbath between 4 teams for 1 spot, which right now we hold. All we need to do is keep winning. If we keep losing like this, we're not going to make the playoffs. It's simple as that. You either win or you lose a hockey game. And in this game, and in many other games recently the Hawks have played, they have lost. They have had a very rough month, pretty much. And it is really hard for them to do anything sort of productive right now because they are not succeeding in whatever they're trying to accomplish right now, which is get to the playoffs. We've defied all the odds for pretty much 2 months. Almost 3 months in the season now. We're still in a playoff spot. We need to keep that up because for some reason, all of a sudden, Dallas, Nashville, they're starting to wake up. I don't know about Dallas yet. I haven't really checked up on them, but if this game's going to be a signal for anything, they're waking up. And it does not mean anything good for this Hawks team. Now, this next series is against Columbus. I would say that this is going to be a free series. It's not. Columbus is still in the mix of things. Despite them, not being totally impressive and actually being down there for most of the season, they've still been in the mix of things this year. They just haven't found themselves into the final playoff spot. They haven't found their way into a spot just yet. But as the season has developed, Columbus has not been in a playoff spot, yet they're still in the mix of things. We cannot let them win these 2 games and get just that much closer to taking our spot away from us. I'm getting really nervous now because Nashville is hotter than ever. For some reason, Nashville decided this is when we're going to turn it on full throttle and we're going to go ahead and steal this playoff spot from Chicago. Columbus has been in the mix of things, kind of They haven't been super close, but they haven't been completely out of it this year. And now Dallas looks like they might be starting to make some moves. They got a couple games in hand. I'm getting nervous. And after Columbus, we have 2 games against Detroit. Our final 2 games against Detroit. Those need to be wins because not only because it's Detroit, but because they suck. And we're in the dump, or not necessarily in the dumps, but we need some wins and some points to get ourselves and keep our position and playoff spot for as long as we can. Because from here on out, we have 1 more series against every single team in the division. Anyways, that is it for this one. Make sure you like that. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And I will see you guys next time.